The Sherman tank had a reputation problem in World War II. Outgunned by German Panthers and Tigers, crews knew they were vulnerable. But here's what most people don't know. American tankers didn't just accept their fate. They became battlefield engineers, creating ingenious modifications that saved countless lives. These weren't official upgrades from factories back home. These were desperate, brilliant solutions welded together in the mud and chaos of combat, and some of them changed the entire course of battles. Let's start with the most famous modification, the Rhino tank. In July 1944, after D-Day, American forces slammed into a nightmare. The hedgerows of Normandy. These weren't your backyard bushes. These were ancient earthen walls, 6 feet high, topped with dense vegetation and roots like steel cables. Sherman tanks had to climb over them, exposing their thin belly armor to German anti-tank guns. It was a death sentence. Crews were getting slaughtered. Then Sergeant Curtis Cullen of the 102nd Cavalry Reconnaissance Squadron had an idea. He grabbed steel from destroyed German beach obstacles, the very tank traps the Nazis left on the beaches, and welded sharp prongs onto the front of a Sherman. The concept was simple but revolutionary. Instead of climbing over hedgerows, cut straight through them at ground level. When General Omar Bradley saw the demonstration, he immediately ordered mass production. Over 500 of these Cullen hedgerow cutters were manufactured and fitted to nearly 3/4 of the 2nd Armored Division's tanks before Operation Cobra. The results were stunning. Tanks that previously needed 10 to 30 minutes to breach a hedgerow now smashed through in under 5 seconds. German defenders had no time to reposition. The Rhino tanks gave American armor true mobility for the first time since D-Day, and Bradley later credited them with saving countless Allied lives. But the Rhino wasn't the only modification crews made. Tankers were terrified of German anti-tank weapons, and they knew their armor was inadequate. So, they improvised. The most common field modification was sandbags. Crews filled bags with dirt and stacked them on the hull front, sides and turrets, sometimes building elaborate steel frames to hold them in place. Now here's the controversy. General Patton actually banned sandbags in the summer of 1944. His ordnance officers told him they were useless and the extra weight damaged the chassis. But after the devastating losses in the Battle of the Bulge, even Patton changed his tune. The demand for better protection was too loud to ignore. Crews also welded spare tank tracks onto their Shermans. The logic seemed sound. More metal equals more protection. But the reality was different. Tank tracks weren't made from armor-grade steel. Some experts believe the soft-track steel could actually normalize an incoming armor-piercing round, turning it perpendicular to the hull and making penetration easier. Still, crews kept doing it because, psychologically, any armor felt better than none. The most effective field modification? Actual tank armor. Crews started cannibalizing armor plates from destroyed American and German tanks and welding them onto weak points, hatches, vision ports, and flat hull sections. This wasn't just psychological. Real armor-grade steel made a measurable difference. This concept eventually led to the factory-produced M4A3E2 Jumbo Sherman, which had 4 inches of armor on the hull front and 6 inches on the turret front. Only 254 Jumbos were ever made, but they proved the crews were right all along. Better armor meant better survival. Here's what makes these modifications so remarkable. These weren't trained engineers with blueprints and testing facilities. These were 19- and 20-year-old kids with welding torches, working in fields under artillery fire, using scrap metal from the wreckage around them. They identified problems, designed solutions, and implemented them faster than any bureaucracy ever could. The Cullen hedgerow cutter went from concept to mass production in weeks. That's battlefield innovation at its finest. The Sherman tank won World War II not because it was superior, but because American crews refused to die quietly. They adapted, they innovated, and they survived. Every sandbag, Every welded track, every rhino prong was a middle finger to the idea that they were helpless. These field modifications represent something deeper than just metal and engineering. They represent the ingenuity and determination that actually wins wars.